Previously, attracted by the giant squid in the bear's hand, Sejun Park hurried back to the cave, but the little rabbits' faces were already stained with ink. Seeing this, Sejun Park burst into laughter, and Mr. and Mrs. Rabbit went to wipe the children's faces, with Mrs. Rabbit mistaking the black warrior bunny as also stained with ink. After cleaning the little rabbits, Sejun Park stared into the pond, now filled with many giant squids. They and Black Warrior Bunny were the first to discover them, curious about what these things were. Upon hearing this, Sejun Park explained that these squishy things were squids, and they were very delicious. The pair were still skeptical, so Sejun Park cooked on the spot. He heated up eel oil, then stir-fried it with green onions and carrots, and finally added squids and chilies obtained from Teo. Soon, a fragrant spicy stir-fried squid dish was ready. Next, he also made grilled giant squid and raw squid salad. Looking at the array of delicious dishes on the table, Black Warrior Bunny and Bay couldn't help but drool. After calling over their friends, Sejun Park and the others began to enjoy the meal delightfully. The little rabbits hugged the grilled giant squid and ate joyfully. They seemed to favor the raw salad, and Mrs. Rabbit was fed by Mr. Rabbit himself. Black Warrior Bunny hadn't expected such delicious creatures and now wanted to visit the deep sea again. Following that, the little bear excitedly said it also wanted to follow Brother Black Rabbit. To this, Sejun Park asked if Bay had learned to dive yet, but it seemed unsure. Immediately, Sejun Park decided to teach the little bear once he was done with the farm work. Meanwhile, on the other side, Teo and the Silver Wolves had already started their return journey. But at that moment, there was a situation at the teleportation portal ahead, with many merchants and residents being held back. It turned out that the major associations had disabled this high-speed passageway, requiring everyone to use other channels. The little cat asked what had happened, and Elko was also unclear. Shortly after, they found out the situation. It turned out that the red locusts had appeared again in the tower, so many channels were being controlled. Upon hearing this, even Silver Wolf Chieftain broke out in a cold sweat, while Teo was unaware of these. He didn't understand what this meant, and Iona nearby explained that these were pests known as the harbingers of disaster, born to destroy everything. Their appearance was meant to take away the homes on which the tower residents relied. The mercenaries' joint army was controlling the passageways. Iona said she was supposed to join them too, but now it had decided to use the lightspeed passageway to meet the Great Black Dragon. This puzzled the little cat, who was just a mid-level wandering merchant. The lightspeed passageway was for high-level merchants. Hearing this, Iona reassured it and then pulled out a glittering gold medal from under her cloak. Teo instantly recognized it as a gold medal that only big wandering merchants could possess, allowing unrestricted use of all shortcut routes. Immediately after, the little cat excitedly expressed its desire to get along well with Iona, but it was met with a refusal from the little hamster. Soon after, Sejun Park and his companions had already started working. Due to the rapid growth of the green onions, they had almost become a forest, and they were struggling to keep up. The green onions were so tall that Sejun Park couldn't see his friends, only hearing the sound of chopping green onions. Just then, a shout from Sickle Rabbit came from ahead. Sejun Park immediately went to check. Seeing Sejun Park coming, Sickle Rabbit informed him that the green onion in front of it couldn't be cut. To this, Sejun Park thought it was impossible. He then reached out to break it directly, but unexpectedly, the next second, his hand was cut by the green onion leaf. Sejun Park truly didn't expect the green onion in front of him to make him bleed. He gently touched it with his hand and discovered that this particular green onion was as hard as steel. However, these were just the leaves. After grabbing the root of the green onion, Sejun Park pulled it out. Through a message prompt, he learned that this was a brand new variety, the tough blade green onion. It was a new variety evolved to avoid having its leaves cut. Grown by the head of agriculture, it has a shelf life of 90 days, is rated C grade, and does not taste good. The appearance of a new crop excited Sejun Park, but he was disappointed that it had no special effects when eaten. However, regarding its leaves as sharp as metal, Sejun Park took one and tried it out. Unexpectedly, just a swing harvested a swath of green onions. Using green onions to cut green onions was something Sejun Park had never imagined. This new variety indeed had great uses. Just as he was happy, Aileen finally sent another message. Seeing her choke up and ask for help, Sejun Park quickly asked what had happened. Hearing this, Aileen couldn't help crying, tears flowing down the message window. After some explanation, Sejun Park and others understood that a creature called the Red Locust had invaded the 67th floor. Mrs. Rabbit was very scared, and Mr. Rabbit told her to calm down, as it was not good for the babies in her belly. Seeing their reaction, Sejun Park wondered if these were the monsters that had once destroyed the Rabbit Kingdom, also asking what exactly this group of creatures was like. Aileen explained that the Red Locusts were a group of monsters that would devour everything to increase their numbers and continue to evolve. If they were not dealt with, all life forms on the 67th floor would die, and the creatures would gradually invade other floors. At this moment, Sejun Park also understood the danger of these monsters. Aileen said she had her circumstances, so she couldn't take measures herself, and apologetically stated that she needed everyone's help. Sejun Park told Aileen not to worry, assuring that they would do everything they could to help. "We will give it our our all, because this is our home too, Sejun Park firmly said. I won't just watch as the monsters disturb our peace. The little rabbits also responded to Aileen, assuring her to trust the tower's residents. Watching everyone discuss solutions together, even the great black dragon couldn't help but shed tears. Sejun Park wondered what method he could use to help, since he couldn't go down himself. While he was thinking, Teo also rushed back to the cave. Sejun Park was about to tell him about the locusts, but the little cat mentioned that there were new guests today first. Iona slowly stepped forward, showing respect, and then curiously asked Sejun Park if he was the great black dragon. Sejun Park looked at the hamster in front of him, still a bit slow to react. Meanwhile, the little bear was also very interested in Iona. Teo explained that Iona did not believe he was a subordinate of the great black dragon, so he brought her here. As for the little hamster, it formally introduced itself as Iona, the president of the Magicians Association, and greeted everyone. Just then, Aileen sent a message to Sejun Park, also reminding him that the Magic Association president was a high-ranking entity within the tower. Realizing Aileen wanted him to keep up the act, Sejun Park admitted it and then told Iona that she was a guest and couldn't just sit on the ground like that. Soon, a round table was prepared for Iona, along with some honey tomato juice. Sejun Park awkwardly stated that there was nothing special and it would have to do. The little cat, observing the little bear, was surprised at how small it had become. Sejun Park, on behalf of Aileen, asked Iona what she wanted with him. Seeing this, just as Iona began to state her case, Sejun Park took the initiative to ask, is it because the locusts appeared on the 67th floor and have spread to the 68th floor that you came to find me? Hearing this, Iona was surprised. So the great black dragon knows everything, but why doesn't he step forward? To this, Sejun Park used the words Aileen had said before, indicating that he too had his circumstances. However, before they could continue, the little cat and Bae wanted to eat. Seeing such a relaxed atmosphere, Iona doubted if Sejun Park really was the black dragon. Moreover, Bae's calling someone dad made her even more confused. Upon closer observation, Iona noticed that apart from black hair, there seemed to be nothing special about Sejun Park. He seemed completely unrelated to the great black dragon, more like a human race that had recently entered the tower. Most importantly, Iona could not sense any powerful magic from Sejun Park. These signs made Iona increasingly confused, and without understanding it, she took a sip of the honey tomato juice. The next second, Iona was shocked because, after drinking this thick red liquid, she actually felt an increase in magical power, and it was sweet and delicious. Seeing the hamster's reaction, Sejun Park explained, this is magic cherry tomato juice with honey, made from the magic cherry tomatoes grown by the little rabbits and the honey of poison honeybees. Hearing this, Iona wanted to see the magic cherry tomatoes. Mr. Rabbit then brought a small basket, and after seeing it, Iona asked in disbelief, are these from the residents of the Red Ribbon Kingdom? To this, Mr. Rabbit affirmed, after losing their homes, it was Sejun Park who took them in. After checking the message, the little hamster was surprised, as these crops were ones it had never seen before. It wanted to know if there were others, so Sejun Park listed all the crops on the farm, even those not yet harvested, like peanuts. Hearing about peanuts, the little hamster showed clear interest. They were distracted by the little bear and little cat nearby, as the little cat gave its cherished cat treat to Bae. At this point, Iona finally took a good look around, noticing everyone was happy and harmonious. After some thought, she concluded, could it be that great black dragon is taking care of homeless monsters while researching food scarcity issues? Perhaps great black dragon's magic is weak for the sake of the small animals. Thinking that the great black dragon had given up his freedom to dedicate himself to food research in the tower, and realizing how foolishly she had misunderstood, Iona immediately apologized to Sejun Park. She expressed that she had not felt this profound grace in time, and now needed to repay the disrespect towards great black dragon with her life. Seeing this, Sejun Park was taken aback, but he didn't ask further. Instead, he took out a tough blade green onion, wondering if Iona might find it helpful. After checking the crop's information, Iona found that it was also the first time she had heard of the tough blade green onion. Sejun Park told a story. In winter, just a blade touched by blood could easily hunt a terrible wolf, because the hungry wolf would lick the blood on the blade. As time passed, the wolf's tongue would be cut by the blade, and the blade would continue to have blood, but due to the cold, the wolf wouldn't notice. Thus, the wolf would slowly lick its own blood to death. After hearing this story, the cat told Elka never to lick a tough blade green onion, as it would give it fish to eat instead. After hearing this, Iona understood Sejun Park's intention. The locusts can't distinguish between regular onions and tough blade green onions. The locusts tasting the fresh onions would continue to eat the tough blade green onions, and those that went on to chew the tough blade green onions would be killed directly. Red locusts are a kind of monster that will cannibalize each other when injured, so with the tough blade green onions, resisting them shouldn't be a problem. Now Iona was truly convinced that Sejun Park was the great black dragon. Not only was he solving the food issues inside the tower, but he also researched weapons to eradicate the locusts. Seeing this, Sejun Park realized he might have caused an irreversible misunderstanding, but regardless, Sejun Park said this idea was worth experimenting with. The tough blade green onions had just been dug up and needed to be cultivated to increase their number. Hearing that great black dragon wanted to experiment, Iona said not to worry, as it had just caught a few red locusts. Then she opened a magical space, slowly reached inside, and quickly pulled out her magic wand. With a small wave of Iona's hand, several terrifying locusts appeared, bound by powerful magic. Seeing this scene, the companions were also frightened by the locusts. Iona mentioned it had taken a lot of effort to catch these for experimentation. The little hamster asked what to do next. Sejun Park asked it to wait a moment. He immediately went to sort out the onions. After arranging both the green onions and the tough blade green onions, he asked Iona to release the locusts. As soon as they were released, the locusts headed straight for the crops in front of them. The onions, emitting a fresh scent, were simply irresistible to the locusts. After quickly devouring them, they noticed another plant ahead and one by one eagerly rushed towards the tough blade green onions. The locusts opened their mouths wide and bit down hard, but the next second, they were sliced in two by the tough blade green onions. Lacking intelligence, they couldn't see their comrades' deaths and kept rushing one after another towards the deadly delicacy. Once several locusts had all died, Sejun Park was very excited. The effectiveness of the tough blade green onions exceeded his expectations. At that moment, the Black Tower also sent a message informing Sejun Park of his great achievement in using crops to eradicate pests. As a reward, the Black Tower would grant him a new occupational trait, gaining experience by using crops to eliminate pests. This effect surprised Sejun Park. It was a trait perfectly suited for this disaster. For him, the new occupational trait was simply fantastic. Meanwhile, in the human world, as soon as Dongshik exited the tower, he immediately looked for his master. Hearing that his apprentice had conquered the 38th floor, Taijun was very happy, but he knew that if Dongshik sought him out immediately upon exiting, there must be a good news. Upon hearing this, Dongshik took out the Sweet Sun pumpkin potato. After reviewing its effects, Dongshik and his associates expressed that the entire association was looking forward to the legend's return. The ability to neutralize the flame curse within 5 hours reignited Taijun's long silent heart. A few days later, the red locusts were striking the 67th floor of the Black Tower, and many tower warriors were desperately fighting them, but the overwhelming numbers left the warriors in despair. Just when everyone felt helpless, Iona finally arrived at the battlefield. She formed a huge flame array in the air, and Iona's arrival surprised all the small animals. With a fierce wave of her wand, a large part of the battlefield was engulfed in fireballs, and countless locusts were turned to ash in this strike. Although this was only a small part of the locusts, it left the allied warriors dumbfounded. Without waiting for everyone to continue being amazed, Iona hurriedly threw out the tough blade green onions, then instructed her companions to quickly plant them at the front of their position. The lizard men did not hesitate to obey. They had just planted the onions when the red locusts in front were deeply attracted by the green color and swarmed towards the tough blade green onions. But the next second, the situation drastically reversed. The locusts seemed to have met their natural enemy, dying one after another under the tough blade green onions. The warriors couldn't believe what they were seeing. The troublesome locusts were willingly going to their deaths, and in a short time, the dead locusts had piled up. Then an animal asked, "What exactly is this thing?" To this, Iona replied to everyone, saying it was a blessing from the great black dragon. This left all the animals somewhat puzzled. Following that, Iona began to inspire all the warriors. No need to fear the red locusts anymore. Just attack the enemies that pass through the onions, and we can drive them out of our home. After Iona shouted hail to the great black dragon, all the magicians with her unleashed their full firepower. The warriors below, as if they had received a spiritual pillar, launched a total offensive against the locusts. Meanwhile, on the 99th floor, the little bees were collecting pollen from the corn. As for Sejun Park, after seeing the stream of battle reports, he understood that using tough blade green onions to eradicate locusts was feasible, although he didn't know the specific situation on the battlefield. Next to him, the little bear was holding a tough blade green onion, and with all its might, it actually broke the onion as hard as steel. Watching Bei show off to him, Sejun Park also appeared very happy. Previously, he had been worried that the tough blade green onions were too hard and would be very difficult to divide. Luckily, Bei's strength was great, easily breaking them. Originally, a few days ago, to build a defense line against the locusts, Sejun Park had traded tough blade green onions with Iona. Initially, Sejun Park intended to give them directly to Iona, stating that he wanted to contribute his strength to protect the Black Tower without compensation. However, Iona refused. She first thanked the great black dragon for his grace, but stated that she could not receive them for free, otherwise there would surely be incidents of abuse of these crops within the tower. Thus, Iona suggested acquiring them through trade, which would also be helpful to the great black dragon's merchant subordinates. After the negotiation, Iona stated that she would go down to lead everyone in battle, and later, she would entrust the association to transport the goods. At that time, something happened that surprised Sejun Park. The little bear ate the bodies of the red locusts, even eating them together with the tough blade green onions. Sejun Park wanted to make Bei spit them out, but the little guy had already swallowed them all. What Sejun Park didn't expect was that Elka also expressed a desire to taste the red locusts. Eventually, he realized that locusts are a good food source for the monsters inside the tower. Afterward, Elka and the others became part of the team transporting tough blade green onions. After saying goodbye to Sejun Park, Elka headed to the 67th floor. It had another purpose for the trip. From the messages sent by Iona, it was known that the lizard men fighting on the 67th floor would use the locusts as food, but because the number of locusts was too great, the supply far exceeded the consumption, so much so that there was even no place to store them. However, the locust bodies had to be dealt with because other locusts would eat them and gain energy to reproduce. Fortunately, after negotiation, the Silver Wolf tribe took responsibility for transporting the dead locusts to the 99th floor, then selling these locusts as food to help rebuild the drought-stricken 85th floor. Recently, through tough blade green onions and locust bodies, the farm again made a considerable profit. While Sejun Park was happy, he also urged the intern to fan him. During this, the little cat, while complaining of arm pain, asked if he could still be the sales cat. This was also a punishment for its carelessness in taking the sweet sun pumpkin potatoes. Sejun Park mentioned that if the shoots hadn't been distributed in advance, then it might never have been possible to grow this variety again. Regarding this matter, Teo promptly admitted his mistake and promised never to do it again. However, he still told Sejun Park that he had sold the sweet sun pumpkin potatoes to Dongshik, so there wouldn't be a problem. Teo emphatically said that he saw Dongshik really needed the sweet sun pumpkin potatoes, and his action once again increased trust between them, so he thought he had done well. But in response to the little cat, Sejun Park ruthlessly demanded another 30 minutes of fanning. Watching Teo tearfully say he couldn't do it anymore, Sejun Park hinted that his shoulders were a bit sore. Hearing this, Teo threw down the fan and hurried over to massage Sejun Park. Just then, experience points notification popped up again, and Sejun Park knew the red locust were attacking again. These past few days of continuous experience gaining had finally brought his level to 20, and he had also received a new job task, reach level 21 after acquiring 1,000 crops. This task was easy, and Sejun Park was eager to complete it. However, the little cat insisted he sit still, saying its massage wasn't finished yet, and even claimed there was something wrong with Sejun Park's face, wanting to take this opportunity to give him a proper massage. But when the cat's paws needed his face, Sejun Park always felt somewhat uncomfortable. Meanwhile, on the western edge of the forest, right now, a corrupted Ents was shivering. However, the next second, a huge red bear paw smashed it flat without hesitation. The mother crimson grizzly bear had been eliminating invading monsters these past few days, and didn't understand why. Starting not long ago, the trees from the west had been invading her territory, so she decided to strengthen patrols afterward. It was now noon, and the mother crimson grizzly bear knew it was time to return home. After casually picking up a broken tree root, she slowly headed back, thinking about whether Bay had eaten properly and what delicious food Sejun Park had prepared for today. She was ready to go back and eat. On the other side, Aileen had already started eating. Now that a solution had been found for the red locust problem, her appetite had improved a lot. At this moment, Aileen drank a lot of honey tomato juice in one go. Recently, being upset had prevented her from eating well, and Aileen planned to make up for the meals she had missed these past few days. Seeing her eat so happily, Sejun Park felt much relieved and even promised to give her some dried sweet potatoes later. Just as the notification of killing locusts popped up again, it had appeared many times today. Sejun Park couldn't help but wonder just how many more experience points were needed to level up, including the tower's warriors. They would soon be able to deal with these invaders. Afterwards, Aileen placed her dragon claw on the crystal ball, pulling up the current contribution leaderboard for eliminating the locusts. Sejun Park was at the top, with Iona right behind him. From the rankings, Aileen could see that the tough blade green onions were a success. Thus, she cheered Sejun Park on, saying that driving away the locusts was not far off. She also mentioned that there were rewards for those who contributed to eliminating the locusts, but Aileen didn't tell him exactly what they were, only hinting that the higher the contribution, the better the reward. Seeing this, Sejun Park couldn't help but feel excited. Afterward, he also casually pulled out a carrot. This carrot of agility had already reached C grade. Eating it not only breaks down fat, but also increases one's agility. Sejun Park handed out the carrots to his companions, asking the little rabbits to distribute them. Just then, Teo rubbed his cat eyes and came over, telling Sejun Park that he was about to set off. The little cat had previously arranged to meet Elka on the 88th floor, then head down together to the 38th floor. Wishing him a smooth journey, Sejun Park reminded the little cat not to pick up the wrong items again. Hearing this, Teo was a bit indignant, as he is not the type of cat to repeat mistakes. But before they could continue chatting, the artistic gray rabbit came over and happily informed everyone that the house was completed. So, Sejun Park led his companions over for a tour. Upon closer inspection, Sejun Park was very satisfied. The gray rabbits had even finished the kitchen. It was exactly as Sejun Park had envisioned. He also had everyone lie down together on a huge bed, which was a fire kong made by the gray rabbits, and it was very warm to lie on. Sejun Park was curious curious, as he clearly hadn't mentioned the details, yet the little gray rabbits had managed to build it so perfectly. The architectural gray rabbit gave the answer it had previously taken on a similar commission. After a while, they went outside to chat. At that moment, the little bear seemed to have found something. It and Teo were curious about the small door beneath the house. Immediately, Siju and Park opened it for them, only to discover inside the sickle rabbit and the artistic gray rabbit. Both rabbits blushed instantly as their sweet romance was disrupted, and the sickle rabbit promptly issued an eviction order to the companions and reminded them to knock next time. After escaping outside with Bae and the others, Siju and Park was still a bit out of breath. At this moment, Siju and Park shed some helpless tears, having been driven out of his own home. The little bear curiously asked, "Dad, are you sad?" Now, Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear had also returned, and upon seeing her, Bae greeted her very happily. Siju and Park wondered why she was much later today, and if she had been too focused on patrolling lately. Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear explained that there was no choice, as the surroundings of her territory had been too chaotic these days. She placed the large tree she had brought on the ground. The companions were curious about what it was. Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear thought it might be useful, so she brought it back. After the meal, Teo learned that Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear was going back to the forest, so he asked her to take him along for part of the journey, and Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear happily agreed, as it would make the trip less boring. After saying goodbye to Sejun Park and the others, the little cat left the cave with Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear. A while later, the Gray Rabbit craftsman prepared to handle the tree wood Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear had brought. The Gray Rabbit craftsman thought the wood quality was very good. The Gray Rabbit craftsman took out its little axe and told everyone it was going to make another bed for itself. Sejun Park was ready to go and clean up the surroundings with his companions, but just then, the Gray Rabbit craftsman saw the big tree suddenly flicker with red light. The next second, it was bound tightly by the tree's newly grown branches, causing the Gray Rabbit craftsman great pain, and it quickly cried for help. Hearing the noise, Sejun Park and the others hurriedly turned around and saw the tree they had just been dealing with come to life. The moment they sensed the danger, they immediately attacked. After growing instantly larger, it pounced towards the corrupted ant. The little bear's target was clear: to save the Gray Rabbit craftsman. Attacked by Bay's sharp bear claws, the tree roots binding the Gray Rabbit craftsman snapped instantly, and the Gray Rabbit craftsman was thus rescued. But the crisis was not over, as the corrupted ant, enraged, immediately targeted the little bear. Fortunately, Bay was not weak. It bit into the opponent's tree roots and then tore all the roots apart. A fierce battle between Bay and the corrupted ant ensued. Sejun Park wanted to help but didn't know what to do, so he quickly contacted Aileen. Seeing a corrupted ant, the great black dragon was also puzzled. Immediately, Aileen hurriedly checked the data, and soon she found the corrupted ant's weakness. It turned out that the center of the opponent had a carnivorous fruit, but now that the corrupted ant was fighting with the little bear, Sejun Park couldn't confirm the position, so he urgently asked Bay to shrink. Hearing Sejun Park's words, the little bear also turned into a cub bear form. The next second, Sejun Park charged forward decisively, plunging his weapon directly into the center of the corrupted ant. Accompanied by the monster's painful howl, Sejun Park realized there indeed was something inside. The moment he successfully pulled out the fruit with his dagger, the corrupted ant collapsed to the ground. The status window notified him that he had gained 5 experience points. Sejun Park still couldn't believe it was over just like that. At that moment, the little bear suddenly asked him to turn around. Looking back, Sejun Park discovered many monsters ahead and realized that the farm was facing invaders. Through the window message, he learned that these were corrupted Ant's small branch scouts. Seeing this, they immediately transformed back into its giant form. Sejun Park quickly told the little gray rabbits to call over other combat-capable companions. The little bear had already charged at the enemies. Facing these small creatures, it decisively leaped up. In the next second, Bay smashed down onto the ground, destroying many of the small branch scouts with this strike. Next, Bay became even more formidable, easily shattering other enemies as it charged into the mob. Sejun Park was also not idle. He could handle these small creatures, raising his weapon and cleaving them with force. However, seeing that monsters were still streaming in from behind, he wondered where they all were coming from. Just then, after receiving a message from the Gray Rabbits, Black Warrior Bunny and Sickle Rabbit were the first to come to support. Hearing Sejun Park say that the monsters must not get close to the farmland, Black Warrior Bunny no longer held back and went all out, quickly hammering down and smashing the small branch scouts before they could react, then turning them into wood chips. Black Warrior Bunny's impressive fighting instantly dazzled Sejun Park. After receiving praise, Black Warrior Bunny didn't forget to strike a pose, but unexpectedly, a creature lacking in martial virtue tried to sneak attack Little Black Rabbit. Fortunately, it was unsuccessful and was turned into pieces the next moment by Sickle Rabbit. Its sickle was also very sharp against the small branch scouts. Black Warrior Bunny was even impressed by his brother's appearance. After elegantly landing on the ground, Sickle Rabbit told Black Warrior Bunny not to get distracted, as it was very dangerous. At this time, Cart Rabbit and the others also picked up weapons to come and defend the farm. The third generation Poison Queen Honeybee also led the little bees in support. Soon, everyone was fighting fiercely with many small branch scouts. With the help of their companions, the situation was largely one-sided. Sejun Park encouraged everyone to put in a little more effort, and they would soon drive away the invaders. But just then, Black Warrior Bunny suddenly noticed a new development and quickly alerted everyone to look behind. As Sejun Park and the others looked back, they discovered that behind the small branch scouts, there were many corrupted ants large branch scout following. Seeing monsters as tall and strong as the previous ones charging over, Sejun Park realized that these were not mere small branch scout to contend with. Knowing the situation was unfavorable, he urgently called for his companions to retreat first. Seeing Sejun Park in danger, they quickly ran over and then blocked the monsters chasing after Sejun Park and the others. The little bear would not allow the fellow in front of him to bully Dad. The rescued Sejun Park was very anxious. There were too many corrupted ants large branch scout, and Bay definitely couldn't hold out. But Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear had just gone out, and the Minotaur King and the others were too far away. While Sejun Park was frantically thinking about what to do, a corrupted ant had already launched a sneak attack from behind him. By the time Sejun Park realized it, it was almost too late to dodge. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the Minotaur King appeared behind him, and with just one axe stroke, he split the giant corrupted ant in two. Seeing the Minotaur King greeting him, Sejun Park was astonished. Also arriving were 1004 and 1003. Their timely support finally put Sejun Park at ease. At this moment, a huge explosion occurred behind the corrupted ants, with several monsters being blasted into the air. Upon closer inspection, it turned out that Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear had returned. She was very angry now, as these creatures dared to invade her territory and even attempted to destroy Sejun Park's fields. Sejun Park was very curious about how everyone knew the farm was in danger. Aileen popped up a dialogue box, stating that she had called them. She had just discovered the approaching monsters from afar and contacted the Crimson Giant Bear and the Minotaur King, urging them to rush to the cave. The Great Black Dragon confidently patted her chest, assuring Sejun Park that there was no need to worry anymore. Learning all this, Sejun Park felt even more grateful to Aileen. With the help of his companions, he was instantly filled with confidence and then told everyone that after defending the farm, they would have a grand feast to celebrate. Hearing that there would be food, the Minotaur King and the others were even more motivated, and Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear was the same. As for the little bear and Black Warrior Bunny, they happily jumped up and down. Next, the defense battle of Sejun's farm officially began. With the arrival of the Ox Warriors and Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear, everyone charged towards the invaders together. Meanwhile, on the 67th floor, the ground was piled with countless locust corpses. The little cat and Elka had arrived there. Teo curiously said, "Weren't you saying on the way that this place was a lush green forest?" Upon hearing this, the Silver Wolf Chieftain said, "It's all been gnawed clean by the locusts." Soon, the little cat noticed, "Aren't the Silver Wolves only responsible for transporting locust corpses? Why are they doing other things?" Elka explained that it was a joint army mission requiring help to clear the damaged land, as the personnel in front were too busy fighting to handle it. Teo curiously asked, "Is there a reward?" To this, the Silver Wolf Chieftain said, "No, after all, it's not that difficult." However, hearing this answer, the little cat was infuriated and then angrily turned around, also asking Elka to follow. Seeing this, the Silver Wolf Chieftain was confused, not understanding what Teo was intending to do. The little cat directly told him, "I'm going to get money." Soon, they arrived at the joint army's camp. A lizard men warrior was blocking the newcomers below, and the little cat asked it to move aside as he wanted to meet their leader. Hearing that not just anyone could enter, Teo immediately became unhappy and then asked the lizard men to call Iona out. Of course, the lizard men warrior was reluctant, seeing the little cat as just causing trouble. Teo loudly declared that he and Iona had a very important relationship. As he said this, the warriors in the camp were all stunned, not expecting that the little cat in front of them was well acquainted with a big figure of the Black Tower. Elka was once again scared into a panic by Teo. The wolf quickly inquired what Teo meant. Seeing Elka's expression, the little cat also didn't understand why there was any surprise, because in its eyes, it was Sejun Park's subordinate, and since Iona had kowtowed to Sejun Park, the little cat considered itself a subordinate of Sejun Park, so their relationship must be very close. So, Teo loudly said it again. Iona in the tent also heard the little cat's voice and quickly ran out, saying not to speak of things that might cause misunderstandings. Next, Iona led the little cat inside. Just now, she was discussing the next round of battle with other members, and now Iona asked what the little cat was there for. Teo then told her that this visit was about the contract issue with the Silver Wolves. Originally, it was just about cleaning locust corpses, but it turned out they were also tasked with cleaning the battlefield, which was an unreasonable contract. Hearing this, Iona asked the lizard men next to her, who was indeed Toro, the leader of the lizard men tribe. Toro explained that his people were all fighting, and those are left were children and the elderly and weak, who lacked the capacity to clean up the aftermath, so they had asked for the Silver Wolves' help. To this, Teo told him that additional work required additional compensation. Toro wanted to know how much money was required. Then the little cat directly said, "For forcing my subordinates against their will, so each silver wolf should be paid 1 tower coin, totaling 100 tower coins. Hearing the amount required, Toro immediately became angry. Toro also regarded the little cat as a corrupt wandering merchant. Seeing this, Iona clarified that the little cat is a subordinate of the Great Black Dragon who protects the 67th floor's land, all thanks to the tough blade green onions brought by him. Teo then took over the conversation. If something big happens here next time, the lizard men tribe will have to bear the cost. Understanding the stakes, another lizard men advised the chief to be calm. Reluctantly, Toro agreed to pay. After receiving the money, Iona walked out with the little cat. Along the way, Teo's face was brimming with a smile. Just as he was about to hand over the money to the silver wolf chieftain, Elka refused, saying, "We are the little cat's subordinates, so the money from selling locusts is enough." With that, the little cat kept the money. They would also buy things for the silver wolves and told Elka not to be taken advantage of in the future. For any increase in work, they should rightfully demand payment. Teo also thanked the little hamster for standing by him just now. Iona thought it was appropriate and also apologized to the silver wolf and the little cat, as she was at the front line commanding and was unaware of these issues. Next, Teo told Elka that it would be sufficient for him to go to the 38th floor by himself, and he would take the locust corpses back to the 99th floor. Looking at the little cat beside him, Iona felt somewhat sentimental. The lizard men tribe is known for not giving up their possessions easily, and this incident used the Black Dragon's subordinate as a pretext to successfully demand compensation. Teo would likely become famous in the tower for this, but certainly not without some disapproval. However, Iona understood that it didn't matter. After all, the Great Black Dragon was behind them. But now, this tower has become thoroughly corrupt, and food has become a crucial power that can influence the tower. Certainly, many people would now take notice of the little cat. After walking a bit further, Teo said that this was far enough. After bidding farewell to Iona, the little cat started on its own journey. Although today's events might be exaggerated, Iona still believed that one day, the little cat would truly become a famous wandering merchant within the tower. Meanwhile, back in the top floor, Sejun Park faced another level up. Today's battle against the corrupted Ents had tired him out, and he had just taken a short rest. Now that the battle was over, the Minotaurs were cleaning up the giant tree trunks. It had been almost a day since the battle ended, and the attack by the corrupted Ents was fierce, but with the help of Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear and the Minotaur King, they also played a significant role, so the fight was easily resolved. Sejun Park was able to level up thanks to the care of the little bear, who stunned a corrupted Ent and let him deliver the final blow. To prevent such situations in the future, Sejun Park also asked the Minotaurs to help take the monsters' bodies to make fences. After tidying up, there was finally time to check on these monsters. Sejun Park stated that these must be the Western monsters that 1003 had mentioned before. Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear found it strange that the corrupted Ents had never invaded her territory before, but had been coming frequently recently. Sejun Park watched her eating tree roots and wondered if they really tasted good. Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear also apologized to him, thinking she had not patrolled well. Sejun Park told her not to worry about it. Patrolling such a large area alone definitely couldn't cover everything. Later, when the power of the second and third generation queen honeybees expanded, he would have them help patrol the borders. Hearing this, Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear happily thanked Sejun Park. At this moment, Sejun Park asked why the corrupted Ents would come here. Aileen answered him, saying that the corrupted Ents are like a virus, an annoying being that will corrupt any powerful tree around, no matter what it takes. So, the strong trees on the 99th floor are mostly contaminated. If there are no objects to corrupt, they just lie dormant. As for the reason they are awake and active, Aileen asked Sejun Park if he has a guess. After reading Eileen's words, Sejun Park pondered for a while. Sejun Park understood that it seemed to be the crops in the farm that had attracted them. Just as he was about to think about the next steps, his stomach suddenly growled. Looking at the expectant little bear, Sejun Park remembered that he hadn't eaten anything since the fight. Soon, he began preparing delicious meals for everyone. The little rabbits helped Sejun Park together. The food that needed to be cooked was done by him and some little rabbits. 1004 and the little bear were responsible for carrying it over. 1003 and others prepared the needed corn leaves, and other companions were roasting many fish. Soon, piles of delicious food were almost ready. Once Sejun Park brought over the fried fish, everyone began to happily enjoy the meal. In no time, the food was almost all gone. The Minotaur King finished eating and also drank a glass of honey magic cherry tomato juice. Appearing very satisfied with his first taste, he showed a blissful expression on the spot. Aileen in the administrator's space was naturally not left out. Seeing that Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear hadn't had enough to eat, they quickly tugged on Sejun Park's clothes. Seeing this, he felt very sorry and was just about to continue cooking when he turned around and saw something quite surprising. It turned out that the Silver Wolf Chieftain had returned with a full load of locust corpses. With so much food, both Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear and the little bear were very happy. Then Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear continued eating the food Elka had brought. Just then, Sejun Park suddenly heard a noise from behind. Seeing Mrs. Rabbit in discomfort, start. He hurriedly asked what was happening, only to find out that new rabbit babies were about to be born. This caused a panic among everyone present. It was too late to go inside the burrow, so Sejun Park asked them to go to his house instead. After a tense wait, Sejun Park opened the door of the cabin. Looking down at the scene, everyone was captivated. Mrs. Rabbit had successfully given birth, and looking at the 3 adorable rabbit babies, everyone was very happy, and Sejun's farm welcomed new members once again. Meanwhile, in the Flame Mountains on the 52nd floor of the Black Tower, the wild boars, long dominant in this area, encountered an old adversary today. Below was Taejun, the legendary awakener from South Korea. Upon meeting, the wild boar taunted, "I thought you'd have been killed by my flame curse by now." Hearing this, Taejun retorted, "Are you enjoying living with one eye?" This immediately angered the wild boar, which lashed out right then. With a fierce swipe downwards, it smashed the solid ground, but this attack clearly didn't affect Taejun. After dodging the attack, he took out a sweet sun pumpkin potato and decisively took a big bite. Having absorbed the sweet sun pumpkin potato, Taejun gained strong fire resistance, and the flames engulfing him dispersed entirely. Seeing this, the boar was dumbfounded, feeling that Taejun had become somewhat different. But before the wild boar had time to ponder what had happened, Taejun quickly charged at it. Seeing this, the boar struck again, not believing that a human could defeat it. Faced with a huge wave of fire from the monster, Taejun didn't dodge at all. He was then engulfed by the fiery wave. Thinking it had killed its enemy, the wild boar couldn't stop laughing, but soon it widened its eyes because Taejun emerged unscathed. With his fire resistance, the boar's attacks were ineffective. Seeing Taejun preparing for close combat, the wild boar lashed out immediately, then actually managed to grab Taejun's body. Seeing this, the wild boar thought that even if the flames were ineffective, its strength alone could crush the human. However, Taejun casually remarked, "It's been so long since we fought, you seem to have forgotten I'm a magician." The next second, a magic circle appeared on him. At Taejun's summons, spheres of blue magic orbited in the air. Hearing his opponent declare his identity as a magician, the wild boar instantly felt uneasy. The wild boar also realized it had been careless. Unfortunately, as the magic spheres fell, it had no chance to resist. Soon, the wild boar lay defeated at Taejun's feet. After many years, Taejun didn't expect he could successfully avenge himself. At this moment, the status window also indicated that he had defeated the boss monster of the 52nd floor, and the land that had been continuously burning due to the flame curse was successfully restored today. After discovering that the curse on him was lifted, he understood that he, like the land beneath his feet, had been reborn. All this was thanks to the sweet sun pumpkin potato in his hand. Just then, a voice caught Taejun's attention. A little cat suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "Grass is suddenly growing from the ground." This was also the first meeting between the little cat Teo and the top warrior Taejun. Upon discovering that it was a wandering cat merchant, Taejun immediately became happy, while the little cat was quite surprised. Seeing the sweet potato in the other's hand, it immediately loudly questioned Taejun about where the item in his hand came from. Taejun patiently explained to the little cat. After a while, Teo was surprised, not expecting that the old man in front of him was Dongshik's master. After learning everything, it couldn't help praise that Dongshik was indeed an incredible disciple. Taejun agreed with this. After explaining, Taejun mentioned that he still had to thank the little cat for bringing the sweet potato, promising to repay this kindness. Just as Taejun had finished speaking, the little cat immediately asked him to repay the favor now. Hearing this, Taejun did not refuse, and asked how he could help. What he didn't expect was that the little cat had a very unique request. Teo proposed to sign a contract with Taejun, wanting him to become a subordinate, but Taejun refused because he didn't want to be bound. However, at the little cat's persistent request, Taejun thought of a good idea, which was to become friends. If something happened, he would help as a friend. Teo found the word friend very new and wondered if it applied to anything. To this, Taejun said it had to be reasonable. Soon, the little cat decided to be friends, and it had one thing to do right then, telling Taejun to go to the 38th floor with him. In Sejun's farm, Sejun Park was making delicious food. The soup in the pot had been simmering for a long time, and he and the little rabbits thought it was ready. The ingredients for Sejun Park's dish this time were the meat of red locusts. Part of it was for making soup, and part was cooked directly for eating. Seeing his companions enjoying the food so much before, he tried making it himself. Unexpectedly, he was the first person to cook with locusts. Watching the fragrant meat in the bowl, the little bear's drool dripped onto the table. Sejun Park picked up a piece of locust meat that looked like lobster and decisively took a big bite. But soon he realized something was wrong, because no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't bite off a piece. In the end, due to its elasticity, he accidentally hit the wall. Hearing the noise, Black Warrior Bunny thought something had happened. At that time, Sejun Park received another alert. Thankfully, he had just eaten a detoxifying onion. Unlike Sejun Park, the little bear ate with ease. After preparing the food, Sejun Park brought it over to his companions. The soup he made today was specially simmered. Seeing the food brought by Sejun Park, Mr. Rabbit and Mrs. Rabbit were very thankful to him. Unlike the large pieces of meat, this time it was small pieces of meat simmered into soup, with detoxifying onions and strength potatoes added, so Sejun Park could enjoy it 2. Slowly tasting the soup, Sejun Park suddenly stood up excitedly, which made his companions wonder what was wrong. The little bear then asked, "Did something happen?" Sejun Park then told Bae that he had discovered a special flavor in this bowl of red locust soup. It tasted like chicken. However, the little bear didn't know what chicken was, but hearing that it was Sejun Park's favorite thing, Bae immediately said, "If Dad likes it, then I like it too." This was also the first time since coming to the Black Tower that Sejun Park had discovered meat that tasted like chicken. Earlier, after drinking his homemade locust soup, Sejun Park discovered that its taste was very similar to chicken. Tasting his favorite thing for the first time in hundreds of days, he began to eat bowl after bowl. After finishing all the food, Sejun Park and his companions comfortably lay down to rest. But now he suddenly felt something was wrong, as if he had forgotten something. Just then, the administrator Eileen's message timely appeared. She asked, "Have you finally remembered me?" It turned out that from the time Sejun Park and the others started eating, Aileen had been watching them. Seeing this, Sejun Park wanted to explain, but Aileen angrily said that she had helped the farm through danger and was preparing to give Sejun Park a new reward, expecting him to save some soup for her. Hearing this, Aileen felt very wronged, and she loudly said that Sejun Park was too much. Seeing the administrator's complaint, Sejun Park immediately felt it was not good, so he quickly explained that Aileen had misunderstood, as he had originally planned to make a special soup just for her. Upon hearing this, the administrator no longer cried, and Aileen curiously asked, "Special soup only for me?" Sejun Park nodded affirmatively. Sejun Park explained that the soup was just a test to see if adding onions could detoxify, and that he had always been thinking of Aileen. Hearing Sejun Park's words, Aileen was initially stunned, then her cheeks turned red. She hadn't expected Sejun Park to be thinking about her all this time. At that moment, Sejun Park also started making a new soup for Aileen. Seeing this, the administrator slowly put down the crystal ball, stating she would wait patiently and wanted to watch Sejun Park make it. Seeing what Aileen said, Sejun Park's face immediately changed. He understood that he had to do well, otherwise it would be disastrous. For Eileen's soup, Sejun Park chose magic cherry tomatoes and carrots, along with the essential detoxifying onions. After carefully simmering for a while, he slowly scooped up a spoonful to taste. The flavor was very satisfying to Sejun Park, exactly the effect he wanted. This batch of red locust cherry tomato soup, like the previous one, not only could enhance magical power within 30 minutes, but also provide a feeling of fullness for 3 hours during combat. The reason for using magic cherry tomatoes instead of potatoes was also because Eileen's favorite was the magic cherry tomatoes. After serving a bowl, Sejun Park invited her to taste it first. However, the administrator's window popped up a "Give me everything," followed by Eileen's further request for Sejun Park to give her all the soup in the pot. Soon Aileen received a full bowl of red locust cherry tomato soup, and the aroma that wafted from it made her appetite soar. After happily tasting a spoonful, the flavor of the tomato soup stunned Aileen, and she began to eat voraciously. While eating, Eileen's tail was constantly swaying back and forth. After finishing all the tomato soup in one go, she felt immensely happy, even saying it was the most delicious thing she had ever eaten. Moreover, it included her favorite magic cherry tomatoes instead of potatoes, and the meat in the soup was very tender. Indeed, Sejun Park had been thinking of her, otherwise, it wouldn't have turned out so well. After the misunderstanding, Eileen's cheeks turned even redder, because the boost in magic caused her dragon heart to beat wildly. On the other side, seeing that Aileen hadn't reacted for a while, Sejun Park asked if her mood had improved a bit. After getting a response, Sejun Park also breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, Sejun Park relaxed and told Aileen that he hadn't forgotten her just now. He was just excited because it had been a long time since he had tasted chicken, and he took out a large basket of dried sweet potatoes as compensation. Aileen told him that she had indeed felt a bit upset earlier due to being neglected. Sejun Park then said, "I will never forget you." This made the great black dragon even more wildly speculative, and that long silent dragon heart continued to throb uncontrollably. The next second, the window popped up again, but the content surprised Sejun Park because there was a new mission, and the reward would grant him a new skill. Aileen also said, "You'll definitely like this reward." As a large basket of dried sweet potatoes gradually disappeared, the window indicated that the mission was completed. The skill rewarded this time is called Landowner. It allows Sejun Park to have the abilities of a designated companion. The designated tenant farmer will have his professional skills, and Sejun Park will receive a 1% compensation. Such a special skill made him curious, so Sejun Park called the little bear over. After bringing up the landowner skill interface, he designated Bae as his first tenant farmer. At this moment, the little bear also saw the window above its head, and just as it was curious about what it was, Sejun Park suddenly asked the little bear how many seconds it would take to pick magic cherry tomatoes. Hearing this, Bae immediately geared up, and after hearing that 100 were needed, it confidently promised to complete it quickly. The next second, Bae shot out like a rocket. A huge wind force even blew away Sejun Park's straw hat. Just as Sejun Park had just retrieved his hat, the status window instantly chimed in because the little bear had already already reached the farm and started picking tomatoes. Realizing that his experience points had increased, Sejun Park also understood what the 1% compensation meant. Previously, when the little rabbits and the little bear were picking crops, he could not gain experience, but now with the landowner's skill, he imagined his leveling would further accelerate. In his excitement, Sejun Park found the little rabbits who were still resting. Hearing that Uncle was about to start the day's work, Black Warrior Bunny said it felt sleepy and wanted to rest a bit more, but Sejun Park quickly swiped his finger, then made Black Warrior Bunny the second tenant farmer, and immediately called everyone to get to work, saying that it's better to move when feeling sleepy. If you lie down after eating, you'll become a cow. As they went to work, the farm faced another crisis. Unexpectedly, the corrupted ants had launched another invasion, this time appearing directly in the farm's tomato field. Previously, as they were heading out to work at the farm, they encountered a group of branch scouts invading again. When they appeared near the tomato field, the little bear and Sejun Park were already prepared for battle. After lighting the tree roots with torches, they decisively threw them out. As the blazing tree roots smashed into the group of monsters, they immediately achieved excellent results. The small branch scouts, initially fierce, halted their advance after being hit by the flames. Sejun Park and the little bear took the opportunity to start their attack, only needing to deal with those that hadn't been burned. The small branch scouts were easy to handle, but the large monsters that followed were more challenging. This gave Sejun Park a headache, but fortunately, his helpers weren't limited to just the little bear. Despite the size difference, many of the large corrupted ants were smashed to bits by Black Warrior Bunny's hammer. Sejun Park wasn't too worried about this attack, as Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear was also near the farm. Despite the number of large corrupted ants, they all ended up as debris in the face of the formidable Crimson Giant Bear. Black Warrior Bunny's performance in battle was also very impressive. Seeing his companion's strong fighting power, Sejun Park knew they were sufficient to handle the situation. At that moment, a small monster tried to sneak attack, but luckily Sejun Park reacted quickly, easily splitting it in two with a swing of his dagger. Today's battle was easy, thanks also to Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear, who had first spotted the invaders and reacted promptly at the onset of the invasion. Since the last invasion, Sejun Park had been concerned about a recurrence, so he discussed with Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear the idea of moving their home closer to the farm. This would not only better protect the farm, but also allow them to eat locust meat anytime. Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear and Bay were very happy about this and soon went to their original home to pack their belongings. Thus, this invasion was quickly resolved. After dealing with all the monsters, Sejun Park thanked Mother Crimson Grizzly Bear. The only thing that concerned him was the mess left on the ground after the battle. Fortunately, as he was cleaning up, the Minotaurs happened to come to work. With their help, the cleanup process was greatly accelerated. Recently, due to these corrupted ants, many of the newly expanded farmlands were destroyed, and Sejun Park regretted not being able to fully utilize his landowner ability. As he continued picking up the wood, he found a monster that hadn't quite died. It hadn't been completely burned by the fire. Unfortunately, as soon as Sejun Park's foot stomped down, the branch scout was utterly extinguished. He was very troubled by these monsters, and the repeated invasions made Sejun Park increasingly curious about how to completely eradicate the branch scouts. On the other side, on the 52nd floor, the little cat was perched on Taijun's head. After walking a bit further, they found the path ahead was blocked. The little cat then began to wonder where Taijun was actually heading. It had assumed that the old man, like Dongshik, was ascending step by step through active teleportation points. But now, Taijun said, he came up through the dimensional fragment fruit. At this statement, Teo was startled because the Lindgren is made from the fruit of dimensional fragments, containing some malevolent energy and originally not created within the Black Tower. It is considered an illegal item. If encountered, it must be declared to the Passage Management Bureau. After hearing the little cat's explanation, Taijun realized that the dimensional fruit he had used before disappeared because it had been discovered by the residents. Fortunately, this time he had hidden the dimensional fruit. Looking at the object behind Taijun, the little cat was somewhat incredulous. As Taijun lifted a cloth, a strange plant appeared, which was the dimensional fruit capable of opening the passage. This was the first time the little cat had seen such a plant, but aware that the dimensional fruit would soon wither, Taijun mentioned that they needed to hurry. Understanding that the old man wanted him to use an illegal method, the little cat proudly refused. Seeing this, Taijun pulled out 2 cat treats. Hearing the little cat boast about not being tempted, he threw the cat sticks. Instinctively reacting, Teo still caught the food before it hit the ground, but the next second it realized that the spot where it caught the cat treats was right above the dimensional fruit. At this, Taijun smirked triumphantly, then jumped directly into the open portal. For the little cat, this was undoubtedly a new experience, and fear was clearly written on Teo's face. After a while, this place turned out to be the Phoenix Guild camp on the 38th floor of the Black Tower. Hearing noises in the bushes, Dongshik stopped his work. Realizing it was Master Taijun who caused it, he was relieved, and Dongshik also noticed the little cat that came with him. Having hitched a ride through the dimensional fruit, was not only dizzy but also clearly experiencing motion sickness. Seeing the little cat with his master, Dongshik quickly asked how they they met and whether the curse had been successfully resolved. Soon, Taijun told his disciple that he had dealt with the wild boar, and the little cat was someone he met on the way. Teo then miserably said, "Don't throw me to a crop again." Hearing this, Dongshik immediately understood that his master had used the dimensional fruit. There isn't much left of the dimensional fruit in the national stockpile, but Taijun didn't care and instead turned around to ask the little cat some questions. It turns out that Taijun used some extra dimensional roots on his way to the 52nd floor to confirm the situation from the 40th to the 52nd floors. He asked many natives if any other hunters had come through, and all the residents gave the same answer. Apart from Taijun himself, no other outsiders had reached these levels. So now, Taijun had only one question, which was where exactly Sijuan Park was. At this, the little cat stammered on the spot because it realized big trouble was brewing, and the lie it shared with Sijuan was about to be exposed. However, Sijuan Park in the cave didn't know about the little cat's situation. He was picking fresh magic cherry tomatoes. After his picking skills had upgraded, the farm's yield had also improved. He could now harvest B-grade magic cherry tomatoes. While he was happy, the little rabbits called out that it was time to make the last dish. Hearing this, Sijuan Park said he would come right away, but just as he was about to go, he suddenly felt something was off. The previous branch scout had made him uneasy. After carefully checking inside the cave, Sijuan Park didn't find anything unusual. He had only walked a few steps when he caught a glimpse of the place where he used to cook, which was emitting a faint smoke. Sijuan Park had thought the fire had long been extinguished since there was no need to keep a fire in the cave after building the outside house. Concerned that the new little rabbits might encounter it, he prepared to completely extinguish the fire. However, after spreading the ashes on the ground, a small sapling sprouted out. The new sprout born from the ashes shocked Sijuan Park, but the next second, he heard someone calling him master, a voice that appeared directly in his mind, startling Sijuan Park. At the same time, next to the little sapling, a pair of tender feet appeared. It was a transparent little girl who happily said she had been waiting underground for this day and told Sijuan Park her name was Flame. Flame turned out to be the apple seed that Sijuan Park had originally planted. After hearing the little sprite Flame's introduction, Sijuan Park immediately understood the situation in front of him. She was indeed the little sapling on the ground.